What if the greatest stories aren't written in books, but etched in wrinkles? Alara, a vibrant but impatient documentary filmmaker in her late 20s, had built her career on exposing injustices. Her lens sought out protest lines, political debates, and environmental battlegrounds. Nuance? That was for academics, not for her hard-hitting expose style. Yet, her producer, a man with more faith in her potential than in her current work, tossed her a lifeline disguised as a challenge, a series of interviews with the residents of Whispering Pines, a secluded retirement community nestled in Redwood National Park. Alara scoffed. What injustice am I supposed to uncover there, Arthur? Bingo night gone awry. Arthur simply smiled, a knowing glint in his eye. Go find the stories, Alara. The real ones. Alara's initial visit was exactly as dreadful as she'd imagined. The air hung thick with the scent of lavender and unsaid things. The residents, a colorful tapestry of walkers, hearing aids, and knitted sweaters, seemed content in their quiet routines. She forced enthusiasm, asking generic questions about hobbies and favorite memories, filming stock footage of rose gardens and jigsaw puzzles. Her subjects responded with politely vacant smiles, their tales as predictable as sunrise. Mrs. Abernathy loved her cat, Mr. Peterson enjoyed golf, and everyone thought the food was adequate. Alara felt her cynicism deepening, a thick fog clouding her already limited patience. Then she met Silas. Silas lived on the sun-drenched corner of the West Wing. He sat perpetually on his porch, whittling intricate figures from discarded branches. He didn't participate in group activities, didn't complain about the bland dinners, and seemed utterly indifferent to Alara's camera. He nodded a greeting, but continued his work, his gnarled hands moving with a surprising grace. Intrigued by his aloofness, Alara sat beside him uninvited and watched him work. "What are you making?" she finally asked, breaking the comfortable silence. He glanced at her, his eyes a startling blue of a glacial lake, and simply said, "Time." Alara frowned. "Time? That's abstract." Silas chuckled, a dry, rustling sound like leaves skittering across pavement. He held up the carving, now recognizable as a small bird with impossibly detailed feathers. "Not abstract, miss. Tangible. Every feather, every line, a moment given shape." Frustrated, Alara challenged, "But it's just a piece of wood. It doesn't do anything." Silas stopped carving, his gaze firm. "And what do you do, miss? You film things. Do they do anything?" The question hung in the air, unexpectedly sharp. Alara, usually so quick with a retort, found herself speechless. All her exposes, all her carefully crafted narratives, had any of them truly shifted anything? She returned the next day, and the next, always finding Silas on his porch, always whittling, always seemingly unimpressed by her presence. She started asking different questions, not about hobbies or memories, but about regrets. He resisted at first, deflecting with vague pronouncements on the nature of existence. But Alara persisted. She told him about her own regrets, missed opportunities, sharp words spoken in anger, the constant pressure to prove herself. Slowly, Silas began to open up. He spoke of a love lost too young, a business venture that crumbled under the weight of his ambition, the years he spent chasing success while his children grew up without him. He didn't offer excuses or justifications, simply stated the facts, his voice a low, steady hum against the backdrop of birdsong. "The biggest mistake I made," he said one afternoon, carefully smoothing the wing of a half-finished eagle, was thinking I had all the time in the world. Laura kept filming, but she stopped trying to shape a narrative. Instead, she simply listened, letting Silas's words wash over her, each syllable a drop of hard-earned wisdom. She began to see the other residents of Whispering Pines in a new light. Mrs. Abernathy's cat wasn't just a pet, it was a lifeline, a source of unconditional affection in a world that had taken so much away. Mr. Peterson's golf wasn't just a game, it was a ritual, a connection to the past, a way to mark the passage of time. One day, Silas wasn't on the porch. Alara asked a passing nurse where he was and learned that he'd suffered a stroke during the night. She found him in the sterile quiet of the infirmary, his face pale, his eyes closed. Alara sat beside his bed, feeling a pang of grief she hadn't expected. She took his hand, surprised by its warmth, and spoke softly. "Silas," she said, "it's Alara. I wanted to thank you." His eyelids fluttered open, and he looked at her, a faint smile touching his lips. He squeezed her hand weakly. "Time," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Don't waste it." Silas passed away peacefully the following morning. Alara felt a deep sorrow, but also a strange sense of gratitude. She had come to Whispering Pines seeking a story, but she had found something far more valuable, a lesson. She spent weeks sifting through her footage, but she couldn't find the narrative she'd initially envisioned. The exposés, the political battles, the environmental crusades, they all seemed strangely hollow now. She realized that the most compelling story wasn't about exposing injustice, but about embracing life, about cherishing the small moments, about recognizing the precious, fleeting nature of time. She decided to create a different kind of documentary, a film not about what was wrong with the world, but about what was beautiful in it. She focused on Silas, his hand shaping wood, his voice sharing memories, his eyes reflecting a lifetime of experiences. She interwove his story with the stories of the other residents, showing their resilience, their humor, their quiet dignity. She titled it The Whispers of Time. Arthur, her producer, watched the first cut in silence. When the credits rolled, he turned to Alara, his eyes shining with unshed tears. "This is it, Alara," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "This is the story you were meant to tell." The Whispers of Time wasn't a sensational exposé. It didn't spark protests or incite outrage, but it touched people in a profound way. It won awards not for its politics, but for its humanity. Viewers wrote letters sharing their own stories of regret and redemption, of love and loss, of the lessons they had learned from their elders. Alara continued to make documentaries, but her work was different now. Still sought out stories of injustice, but she approached them with a newfound sense of empathy, a deeper understanding of the complexities of human experience. She learned to listen more, to judge less, to appreciate the whispers of time. Years later, Alara found herself visiting Redwood National Park again. She walked through the towering trees, the sunlight filtering through the canopy, creating dappled patterns on the forest floor. She found her way to Whispering Pines, now under new management. She sat on the porch of Silas's old room, now occupied by a kind-faced woman named Odette, who was diligently working on her own intricate craftwork knitting. Odette smiled at her. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" Alara nodded, breathing in the scent of pine and damp earth. "It is," she said. "It really is." She realized that the greatest stories weren't just etched in wrinkles, but woven into the very fabric of life, waiting to be discovered by those who were willing to listen. And she was finally listening. What if wisdom isn't something you find, but something you grow into?